ideas. Cheers. That was a gift card. Really cool, I would say. Now, we will kind of apply some, things that we have as perception. We will work on October with the idea as embedded system and the debt as something that is a concern of your discretionary expenditures. But it's on October. We will observe that the philosophy you can divide in three things. Kind of, it's the spectral perception of body, mind, and soul, and you will touch things that sometimes you consider untouchable by the not possible ways to achieve, including the lack or lack as cognition, or the empty space of something that indeed you never considered be a possibility. Sounds complex, but it's not. We observe that the ideas presented at this conference, conservative, the idea was kind of quite clear, at least to me, because the hierarchical talk shows that the youth and the young members are kind of very welcome with things, and the ancient people, the ancient bald head people, kind of more concerned and having quite clear words about the when you have no dignity and a person is not welcome. And we will have something on mind. I work with the philosophy all the time, and as we told, it's something body, mind, and soul, and it doesn't mean that you will have no contact with religious things, or things that kind of this conservative movement is taught. Because let's suppose that you, as a conservative movement, has the ideas in America that could understand the moral crisis as a real possibility, because indeed it's happening. And from the deep inside of this America, cutting some elements but nothing putting them out, you could reveal some values that you have, and one of the instruments you used was these religious ties that puts the very traditional Americans kind of at the same purpose. This religious issue that was told at this conference indeed is a doctrine revealed by a need observed from outside as a moral crisis, which in the near future would put the identity crisis a bit, deeper. But since you did the review, and this review is a doctrine inside the creeds and values you have and carry as society, and you could understand that some traces of this big complex society got kind of erased, but you didn't put them out, and you will not do this because it's part of what the American society became. And this group here, as you can observe, can't be connected without the square in the center. So we had here the first thing, which is the segmentation of power. And I will let the question for the American people, especially at this conservative or the almost movement: can you have domain without dominance? Because words presented are kind of really strong and call the attention. Let's suppose that I decided to be at a small movement and I suddenly became a leader and the owner of the movement, and then I decided now to spread this in entire USA and have, by the words that this movement, have the slavery of the American society. See? Idols. It's the first thing we must have as concern. Because America is a young country, like Brazil, but America worked and the all others didn't. We'll check that in Europe, especially Portugal and Spain, in the early days of the Middle Age, which America wasn't born yet, we had this kind of thing as idols that set the power centered in a unique person. This gone the entire Europe, and we have nowadays those crazy ideas neo-feudalism on Europe. Of course, that can be a small curtain or a hoax and ambush for dominance in order to achieve the domination, which it's not the domain, right? So, but the most relevant thing here is that the American society nowadays only will be perfect, fitted, and connected by these, ties here as space linked by, and we observe that in the center we have the power held that since ancient time by the instruments as each human resource at this conference able to do the review as a doctrine, by the creeds you had and values you are considering keep carrying. This conference, as conservative conference, calls attention as a second message, at least on my sides, very limited, which is the pursuit of happiness. But the pursuit of happiness having fear of God, and it's something that goes in many religious creed. But as we told, we must have in mind that the idol, if someone hold this, kind of can touch the America as it, and it's not gonna be subjugated, but in a slavery, for instance. How strong is the morality? Sometimes can be used to quit really powerful types of dependence. In America, we had this movement born in USA to make people freedom again of dependence. In general, we will check that, for instance, America has as a instrument of financial management the budget as the public budget USA. And we observe that everybody is calling the public budget in USA, even as not American. But we could observe that sometimes some ties must be kind of reviewed by the circumstance, by the context, by the limits we have at the economy, and to achieve the pursuit of happiness, embracing a large number of people. Now we can observe by projection some areas as influence that doesn't mean having the domain of power, but having the dominance as the power that is used, has a use. I will consider that I will embrace some extra areas, and it's not by subjugate someone, but make them freedom again. For instance, as the movement we could observe had in the past, because this idea leads to the pursuit of happiness. We have a theory, Italy, and he became an American. Franco Modigliani talks about the pursuit of happiness as the period of your life, considering the life cycle. In general, his theory is presented as something like this. But the complexity of society has a sharp height, which is the standard variance that you have. And the Crime Sys is standardized patterns with as criminal practice all around, illegal in all areas. One of the concern the Modigliani theory and the sharp-ass hate index, return of things you do, is something profitable, and the Ponzi scam as a promise we offer as happiness, like a church. People got associated, but sometimes will achieve the happiness. And by this you can't embrace everybody, because for sure at least some groups will be unhappy. And this happened in Europe with the struggle between creeds. We will use the Modigliani model considering the discretionary debts in USA. Octavio will talk about this more frequently, but as something reviewed. We will change the pattern of the curve, as this situation here will be kind of the standardized things. Because the Modigliani curve says that you will try to achieve money, and have, the moment that you will put the money out or do something like this. But indeed, we will observe that we achieve money by needs we have, because if everybody got rich, nobody will probably have the interest as work, as profitable thing. So instead of have things as money, we'll have the needs, and the needs of crossed with the age of the people. We will consider that the people with needs in general is younger, but we must understand that the youth sometimes implies naive, but not all the time. And by the needs you have and the lack of malicious perception, you do your things, probably you will run things like this until change the pattern of your society by value is not carried anymore. But if this happened as something totally concrete, you wouldn't have the will to do the review of values and create as a doctrine. So you have the will, and now you will apply this will, for instance, to satisfy this credit, just paycheck, considering that it is a not profitable thing and it's not part of the American budget, and having a concurrent interest against the crime, and can have profitable results, but not as the main purpose of this budget, because must be self-sustained some way, since you can observe on present time all governments ruled by criminal purpose, at least in one level, or in some areas as an integrated thing, right? Then we will check that the Modigliani theory now has, we will observe that the index as sharp as return we have profitable at things we do will be not everybody as Asian bald head has the interest in the same way I don't have, as do statistics control the time by specific account or things like this. But with a model we can check range fields of activity. We will have the standard pattern as kicking the pursuit of happiness by the needs you have in a very first moment, and considering the energy as young people to pursue this. We will observe that these two curves are kind of having the same sense. But since we had crisis, we could observe also that sometimes people got dismissed, fired, and sometimes run a criminal scam and regret, a honest regret. So they will probably have lower age as but indeed will be with a big energy to do things, right? And now we are having the Modigliani model a bit different of how is or was set in the 80s, which was linear, and you kind of will try to achieve money and have no need as money anymore. But this model is really dangerous, considering the fake record and crimes at the heritage process and divorce and all other things. Sometimes frauds about born child by records. This model here is more authentic at the Modigliani purpose, considering the limits at that time, as the inflationary causes, which is a concern in USA, observe the unemployment. And we observe that the unemployment doesn't mean necessarily the lack of capacity to be applied as human resource. The America will have as embedded thing the budget. This budget has the face of debit, has the face of credit. But America, acts by prodigality mostly all the time, and by this must respect, for instance, the next president as the prodigal son, in some way gone to the hell, but conquered elements of the hell that can be used, for instance, at the state defense, since this ex-president got surrounded by all eyes possible on it. right? Kind of having a plea bargain about all things, or an agreement, an institutional agreement. And the debt as America, you can observe that until the ages was kind of running the system, but the debt has the credit to be satisfied, and by the conservative movement you do this naturally. But since you had the moral crisis, let's consider that all this space here, which now is the debt, and it's bigger than the credit, you didn't do the accomplishment by morality, which you consider something okay, you pay things that must be paid. And everybody comes to the justice. And the justice corrupted now is, holding the idol that will lead, for instance, to the dominance as American future and happiness of all American people. Can you understand? We had this talk, I think that on UNESCO, in the very beginning of millennium, about the dominance in global scale by all judicial powers at some kind of oligarchy. I think that was on Rio de Janeiro that we have these speeches with judges all around the globe, authorities, and people from all areas. But you must confirm, right? Debt and credit, discretionary debts next month. Was a great gift card. Have a great Saturday.